trip. Okay. Okay. What I'm going to do, we'll see if, okay. So what I'm going to do while anyone joins us, if anyone's waited this long, and hi to people on Periscope. Oh, okay. Here we go. We got Amanda. Hi, Amanda. You don't have to say anything. Don't worry. I'm just still figuring this out. Okay. All right. Don't worry. You don't have totally. Okay. So there's 2 people on YouTube, 1 person on Periscope, 1 person on Zoom. This is hilarious. All right. Well, anyways, while anyone else is maybe coming in and joining, I need to center, do a little body scan. Besides all of my technical difficulties, I also ended up with a caffeinated coffee today, which I totally did not need. So that's why I need to center a little bit here and breathe for a second. So I hope everyone will join me. So just focusing on the breath and tuning into the senses, whatever is the loudest sound in the room, tuning in as if it's God whispering to you. Noticing any sensations in the body. Noticing the space behind the eyes and whatever can be seen behind the eyelids, whether it's colors, shapes, patterns, movement. I'm super happy to be here, even though it's a crazy day. And I hope you all are doing well too. Just focusing on the breath and allowing head to toe to release. Squeeze the hands. Allow them to release. Allow the shoulders to sink with gravity. Okay, I can't sit still much longer than that. But I'll get started the best I can here. And thank you again for joining me. Okay, so tonight is the Divorce Proof Your Life Masterclass. And if we have anybody new here, please let me know and I will give you a little bit of background. But if not, I will just jump right into the content. Amanda, this may all be a repeat for you, so feel free to jump off anytime that you need to. Okay, so I'm going to start my slideshow here and connect the screen. All right, so at least this will be recorded if anyone was trying to get on and wasn't successful. So there's that. But if you're on YouTube or Periscope, say hi. Let me know you're there and that you can hear me okay. And we will go ahead and get started. So, and so if you did want to join the Zoom, if you are on one of those other platforms, I can give you that link as well. I'll just put it in the comments. Here's the, okay, never mind. It was on email. Anyways, so if you are new, please say hi. I am Leila Thomasone. I am a dating, relationship, and marriage mentor. And my story is that I have been through every possible variation of mistakes in dating and relationships and marriage. I was divorced about 8, 9 years ago, and remarried almost 2 years ago, 1.5 years. And my husband is the love of my life. He's so wonderful and amazing. Talk about him all the time with my clients and audience. And so if you're sick of hearing about him, sorry. But he is a wonderful man. And my story is that, like I said, made every mistake in the book and pushed away all of the good guys early on, always chased after the losers and the liars and the cheaters. And just the more I devalued myself, the worse I was treated and the worse I felt about myself. So I was left with 2 small girls and had a horrible custody battle. It is just the worst. Almost lost custody of them. But thankfully, everything is completely different now. Back then, you wouldn't even recognize me, honestly. I lost 20 pounds, look much younger now, I think. And, everything with my kids is going really, really well. Started this coaching business, left a very lucrative family business to help other women to not make the same mistakes that I made and to have wonderful, fulfilling relationships like I've found with my husband, Derek. So that's in a nutshell where I came from and where I ended up. And it's my passion to share this information and how I was able to make that happen with other people so that they can see and not experience what I had to go through to see the difference between a good relationship and a horrible relationship. And if you're in any of those situations, I totally feel for you. If you haven't found the love of your life yet, if you've been in a bad relationship, if you're in a bad marriage currently, my heart goes out to you and I want to help. So that's what this is all about, is sharing this knowledge. What I realized was I wanted commitment and marriage. I wanted protection, security, and safety. And in order to have my needs met and to find the wonderful man that was going to commit to me, I needed to improve myself. And in the course of that, I uncovered the secret codes to embodying my ideal self and unlocking the secrets of polarity so that I could attract a man and build a relationship that would never quit. And believe me, I'm rock solid, 100% sure that this relationship is bulletproof, divorce proof. And some people don't believe me when I say that. We've got another person joining. Hi, welcome in. It is so hard to believe if you've been in a bad marriage or a bad relationship, if you've been cheated on. I just had it on you. If you don't, they're like saying that I needed to like check his phone and all this stuff. And believe me, if I needed to, like I have access to my husband's phones. I know all his passwords. We share all that. But I mean, if somebody wants to sneak around, they're going to find a way to get around that. So it's not, you can't snoop your way into safety and security. Like that's the opposite, right? The safety and security of knowing that your relationship is 100% real and lifelong is something that you can never gain by checking up on him, right? By checking up on your spouse or by, snooping or anything like that. So let me know if that's resonating with you. Would you like to be in a relationship where you have to keep someone in check, right? That's not, if you're anything like me, that's not anything like what you want. So, but yeah, give me a thumbs up or a hell yeah if you want a relationship that is totally bulletproof, never have to worry about divorce, never have to snoop or check up on your spouse. You can give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you, Reem. Yeah. So people don't believe that it's even possible, but I promise you it is. I'll tell you exactly how you can build that type of relationship. I unlock the secrets of polarity, and that means that there's the masculine and feminine pole that when we occupy those correct spaces and those roles in our relationships, that's what draws us together and magnetizes and attracts. Did I ever say that? It's like the glue that bonds us, right? The differences between us is essentially what that means. Oh, and we have someone else coming. So hi, welcome in. Come on in. Let me know if you need me to give any more background or you have any questions at all. I'd be happy to answer them. But basically, on to the substance of who is this for? Or why do you need to know this information that I'm about to share with you? So, you may be single, you may be married. Either way, the case I make is that it's all the same skills and it's all the same. Oh, hi, Chloe. Hell yeah. All right, good. So it's all the same skills, whether you're single or married, that are really, really needed to bulletproof and divorce-proof your relationships and your life. And this is how I can be so sure. It's not dependent on my husband. It's not dependent on what he does. I know that I've put everything into place to make this happen. So if you are married, as you're kind of following along, if I'm referring to anything with dating, think back as to whether you've had these ingredients all along in your marriage, and you'll kind of see where the holes are in the foundation that could be, causing any problems. If you're here, you're probably thinking like, there's issues I need to shore up in my relationship. So this should help you see where there's little cracks in the foundation and where we've gone off track, if that makes sense. So if you want to get that, rejuvenate that juicy, passionate, flowy dance of the dating and honeymoon period in your marriage, we all do, right? We don't want to get married and then fall into routine and convenience and logistics. We want to keep that juicy passion and polarity for the long haul, so we can have fun and not just stay married, but actually enjoy our marriage and love our spouse and love being married. Okay, so these are the secret key ingredients, and if you've been here before, there's a couple of us that have already seen some of this content, but I wanted to do it again because I've had a lot of men actually requesting to see this. We'll see if any of them show up, but they actually wanted to get some of this content delivered to them and learn about a woman's mind from the inside out. So that's why I'm kind of redoing this, and I figure, we can all benefit from knowing more about the opposite sex. And even if I'm like describing things from my perspective, if we have men here, hi, Aldi, thanks for coming in and joining and watching. So even if you're, from like the opposite sex of what, however I'm framing things, it's still going to be beneficial, right? If we're, if you're a man and I'm speaking to women, you're getting an inside glimpse into what, how we do things and how we understand things. And so I hope that's helpful. But same for women. If I'm speaking to men and telling you, the secrets of a woman's mind, then you're going to learn more about yourself in the process too, right? Than last time if you've already seen some of this. But high standards, delayed gratification, understanding the anxiety and pain points for men versus women, how investment translates to value in relationships, what is the good and the bad kind of attraction, how you can identify the difference, how to use honesty versus mystery, not using honesty. That's definitely a discrepancy that between men and women, how we view how much information and to give away and to how much to disclose in our relationships. And that's definitely a point of needing clarification there. And then finally, enforcing boundaries with actions instead of words. So what do I mean by high standards? And what's counterintuitive about this is that you would think that I speak with women all the time. Just talked to a young lady a couple of hours ago who, thinks that, we all, I wouldn't say all of us, but a lot of us fall into this trap of thinking that the more we do for a man, the more convenient we are, like the easier we make everything, that the less we demand of him, then the better chances we have of gaining his commitment, right? Has anyone fallen into that trap before? Tell me, raise your hand, give me a thumbs up, or say hell yeah. Unfortunately, that was me. And like I said, I just saw that today. But actually the opposite. Abby says, oh yes, girl. Yep, exactly. You know what I mean? Actually it's the opposite, that when you raise your standards, when you have more requirements, when you have higher aspirations for your relationship and really want more from your relationship than making it easy and less inconvenient, just being convenient. When you actually want more out of your relationship than that, then that's when you're increasing the chances that you will get what you want. And I don't even want to say chances. I want to say that you're making it happen. You're manifesting it. You're creating a good relationship when you have high standards for that relationship. And let me give an example. I actually said this in kind of my post today introducing the masterclass, is that wherever area of your life you have high standards in, say you want to be the best of the best on your, running a 5K, let's say you want to win the 5K. You're going to work really hard. You're going to train hard for that. You're going to plan to run faster. So you're actually creating and manifesting the outcome that you want as a fast time, right? So if you want an amazing relationship, you're laying the foundation and creating an amazing high value relationship. Okay, is that making sense? Tell me if that's resonating with you, or tell me if you've been scared of having high standards for your relationship. Abby says, yes, I love it. Oh, good. Good. Thank you, Abby. Yes. So I've come so far with this, and this is just a huge mindset shift. More in the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been missing your comments. Oh, man, I just said, it's like, yeah, we've been shamed for having high standards. We've been shamed for our desires. We've been shamed for wanting. And, if there's any men watching, I want you to chime in and tell me what you think of women wanting more. And I think we get a lot of kind of the low value take on this. Oh, Chloe says, yes, absolutely have been scared of that. Abby says, yes, me too. The fear of being alone. Yes. Yes. So you lower your standards and then you're still alone. And then you feel worse about yourself, right? But actually, I was just talking, kind of had a Twitter thread going about how women need to ask for what we want, because that makes men reach higher and farther and do more. And the confusion is in how we do that the real danger and what's really problematic about wanting is how you ask for it, how you communicate what you want. And so that's what we really, really need to learn, the distinction and the nuance between asking for what you want, saying what you want, declaring your desires, and feeling them and embodying them without shame, versus being demanding, being nagging, giving ultimatums and punishing. So that's really where the challenge is for women with our having high standards and having our desires that we voice and don't hide from. Okay, so I was just thinking if there was anything I wanted to say on that. If I was speaking to men about their standards, I would love to hear from any men that this challenge of having lower standards. Abby says, "Ugh, totally what you said about feeling more alone when you've compromised is so spot on." Yes, we can feel it when we lower those standards. We just feel so much worse about ourselves, right? Like you'd almost rather have high standards and they're not met, your expectations aren't met, and men are deselected. And it's like, okay, well, at least I kept my dignity, right, in being alone. But you can't say the same for when you compromise on your standards, and that's why we just don't do that. We raise them, and then we're creating and laying the foundation for that healthy, loving, passionate relationship where we get that romance and that juicy, fabulous gifts and dates and love notes and all of that. But so what I was going to say, maybe I can provide a little bit of insight on the man side, is that I've seen a lot of men who, and probably you've seen this too. Oh, it's my nephew's birthday. I had to decline a FaceTime. Oh, whoops. His party's tomorrow though, and I talked to him already today. But anyway, so what I see on the men's side, so I think this is a good insight for you ladies, is that they are prone to settling for women they aren't super, super attracted to. They are just... sorry, I'm telling my sister. I should have told her earlier. But anyway, they are prone to settling because their goal is sex and companionship, right? But not necessarily commitment. So they're getting what they want, but they're shortchanging themselves and having an unsatisfying relationship. If they don't feel completely passionate about the woman that they're with, if they don't feel that they want to marry her like very, very soon. I mean, everybody's different. There's exceptions and everything, but in general, if they aren't at a place immediately where they really want to get married, or not immediately, but very soon, and then they stay with the woman anyway, then they're settling and feeling compromised. And I want the ladies to absorb that, because if you've ever been in a relationship where, it's gone long term, but it hasn't moved forward, if you can see that from his perspective, that he was his self-esteem was being lowered and compromised, and he was feeling devalued because he wasn't feeling passionate enough to move the relationship forward, if that makes sense. So it's like the longer you draw out those relationships, the worse everyone feels. So I feel so bad. I know it happens a lot that we get stuck in these long-term relationships that just don't go anywhere, and it just wastes everyone's time, and everyone feels so beat up and devalued at the end of it. So I want to teach you how to avoid that at all costs. Okay, so how to do that is the main mistake that men make during dating. Like I just said, that what men do is they're not picky enough in the beginning stages of the relationship. They go ahead and just keep, and that's kind of their settling thing, not being picky enough on the front end of the relationship and allowing it to continue, because they already know in the beginning that it's not a lifelong marriage situation for them, and they shouldn't continue on if that's the case. So that's the main mistake that men make during dating. And tell me, ladies, if this is this a surprise, or did you already know this? That's the main mistake that men make during dating. And then tell me, did you know this? So I'll give you a second on that. Say yes, I knew that about men, or no, I didn't know that about men. And then while you're typing that, the main mistake that women make during dating, maybe you want to guess. Maybe I'll let you guess before I give it away. Abby says, didn't know that. Okay, good. Good. I'm so glad to reveal something new for you. All right, so then what would you say is the main mistake women make during dating, knowing what men's main mistake is? What would you guess is women's main mistake? Or maybe you already know. Maggie says, did not know that about men. Okay, good. I'm so glad. New information for you. I mean, I'm not glad we didn't know these things. I wish I had known these things a long time ago. It's what I'm going to teach my kids so they understand masculine and feminine dynamics. But I'm so, so glad to be sharing this with you. Okay, so given that about men, what would you guess is the main mistake women make during dating? Sip my caffeinated Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Okay, Abby says, perhaps not dating enough people. Yes, love it. Exactly. So not casting the net wide enough, not giving enough men a chance to prove themselves. So prejudging. So where men are like too accepting, they're like, oh, we'll give it a shot, with just about any woman. Women are the opposite, that we're not giving men a chance to prove themselves. And as I've said very many times with my clients, that this is two sides of the same coin. Let's see, Maggie says, give this to them too soon. I'm not sure if I understand. Maybe you can rephrase that. But yeah, it's definitely a few different give in to them. Okay, yes. Give in to them if you mean sexually. Yes, that's a huge mistake. So definitely quite a few big mistakes that we have there, but just as far as like an overarching theme on like who you date, it would be prejudging. And like I was saying, that this is a double-edged sword, or like two sides of the same coin, that when you prejudge a man as not high quality enough or not up to your standards before you actually give him a chance, then you're having the same problem with the men who you prejudge to be up to your standards, and you're not allowing him to prove himself. Is that making sense? That he needs to be proving himself too. So if I can kind of make that a little bit more specific. So you see a guy that you can see yourself with, like he looks good, he's got a good job, maybe online, you've got the profile that you can prejudge, I could see myself with him, then you haven't given him a chance to prove himself worthy. And he can sense that. He can sense that you are not open to learning about him. You've already made up your mind. Right. And this is really repellent to guys, that I've kind of had a discussion with, long discussions with my husband about this, that he was very much on the alert for what he called wide eyes. So it's when we get into the desperate, needy, clingy energy, because we've already decided that we want to be with this guy long term. Has this ever happened to you? We've decided prematurely that we want to be with the guy long term, and then he doesn't get the chance to prove himself, which is very much like robbing him of the chance to slay the dragon, right? If you're looking at it from his eyes, like, it's not only that, robbing him of the chance to slay the dragon, but it's also he is not being accepted for who he is because he hasn't shown you who he is yet. Okay, you might think he has, but he hasn't. And so what he's feeling is that you're not interested in him, you're just interested in the relationship, and you're just putting the relationship and the goal of marriage ahead of actually getting to know him. Does that make sense? So, so let me think of a question. So, um, does this give you a new perspective? Oh, Abby. Oh yeah, to be a clinger. Me too. Me too. And we all do it, right? We're like, the guys that I like don't like me, aka I'm needy, desperate, driving them away. And the guys I don't like do like me, right? That's the common complaint. Abby says, yes, makes perfect sense. Yes. So I want my single girls to have this empathy for him, that he's not being accepted for who he is if you've already prejudged that you want a future with him. That's repellent to him because he doesn't get to prove who he is to you. Okay? All right. So I'm glad that I think that's making sense, right? Okay, so next is anxiety and pain points and how to make this serve you instead of hurt you. So what I want to say about this, to switch it up a little bit from the last edition of this class, is because I hear this a lot from men, and I want to give you this insight to men that they are very, very concerned about, and a lot of them are married to women who've let themselves go, that they've decided they never want to have sex with them, that they're nagging all the time. Okay, so those are the laziness, complaints of men to women. Okay, so what they want to learn from me is how to avoid committing to a woman that they feel like they can't predict the future and they don't know that she's going to be that way. So that's the angle they want from me. And hopefully this helps you on as a woman to see how to be the reciprocal of what you want in your man. Okay. So we don't want a man who appears good on, and I've seen this a lot. You find a man who's got a good job and he's earning a good income, and then as soon as there's a commitment and as soon as you get married, then he loses his job, never wants to go to work, doesn't try to find a new one, just on the couch, and that's it. And then you're the breadwinner from now on. Is anybody afraid of that? And so yeah, so tell me if you're afraid of that as a woman. Or if I have a man here. Okay, Virginia says, oh, I was thinking you were from Virginia, so I did not even consider that was your name. Well, hi, Virginia. So yes, scary, scary situation, scary prospect to commit to someone and not know if they're just going to totally lax out on you, right? Chloe says, yep. Yeah. So how do I know that my husband isn't going to have the same, same situation isn't going to happen to us? Because I promise you, it is not a matter of us being incapable of going that direction. I can gain weight. I've already gained weight in the year and a half that I've been married, and that's a slippery slope, right? And that's what he fears is going to perpetuate and be an issue in the future. So that could easily, we can make these choices at any time. We have free will. So how do you prepare your relationship and your marriage to not face these issues? Okay. So the way I want to solve that problem is by looking for growth mindset. Abby says, yeah, that would be terrible. Yeah, exactly. So, and anybody who's been through a terrible relationship or a divorce, or they find out they married a narcissist or they were cheated on, or, whatever happened, that they, before they do their inner work, before they discover how how this whole process works, they're going to say, there's no way I could have known. Okay. They're going to say that that he just changed, that he had a great job and now he's the opposite, right? And there's no way I could have known. Well, this is how you can know that what you're looking for is not income, it's not status, it's not, I mean, I'm not saying any of those things are bad, and I don't shame anyone who wants to find this in their mate, but I'm telling you, it's not the way to ensure that you don't have a complete reversal down the road. The way to ensure that you don't have a complete reversal down the road is that you put growth mindset on your love list and you make it a very, very important, like, deal breaker, like, crucial quality that you're seeking, that your partner has to have, is a growth mindset, that you're always committed to improving and being better than you were yesterday. Okay, and how do you find that in yourself as well? Does that make sense? Is this helpful? Is this is anything clicking for anyone? Did anyone think, yeah, I need to find a certain income or a certain job, and that's how I make sure that he's going to be a good provider? Tell me if you had that misconception that I need to look for a good income or a good job to find a good provider. Tell me if that's applied to you. Maggie says a growth mindset. Wow, so helpful. Okay, good. Thank you, Maggie. I'm so glad. Virginia said definitely me. Okay, good. So some mindset shifts happening here. Some heads exploding. Yes, very important, very important. And I'll tell you the other way. So like I said, everybody has free will. We all can make decisions to be lazy. We can all decide to give up, right? Even if we formerly were like, yeah, I'm a growth mindset person. You can break your promises, right? So what's our other insurance against lazy, lackadaisical, coming out of nowhere bad behavior? What's our other insurance policy against that? Any guesses? Besides a growth mindset, how can you ensure that your relationship won't fall victim to some, like, unknown thing, like, short of like brain damage or something? Okay, I'm not talking about brain damage, but I'm talking about like a bad drastic change in behavior. What is your insurance against that? Any guesses? I'll take a sip of my coffee. Virginia says, don't emasculate him. Ooh, good question. Abby says, hang on one second. Abby says, being willing to say goodbye. In marriage, that is definitely gonna be, you should have that in your mindset for sure. Maggie says, open to communication. Okay, yep, helpful. Chloe says, having a relationship where you call each other out and hold each other accountable. Yes. Okay, good guesses. What I would say is slightly different. And I'm not sure what to call this. I would call this, I think, anti-fragile. An anti-fragile dynamic. This was a book that my group coaching program read a couple of months ago called Anti-Fragile. Maggie says, mutual respect. Yeah, but people change. Have you ever met, people say this all the time, right? When they're like having a bad marriage. Chloe says, I read it. Oh, wow. Nice, Chloe. So what do you think I mean by describing a relationship as anti-fragile? I'll just put you on the spot. I know you don't mind. And Virginia said, don't emasculate him. That is really important, definitely. But this is more of like a dynamic between the two of you that would ensure, would be your backstop to bad behavior, bad decisions. So I'm calling it anti-fragile because what that means is like something that's fragile, and maybe Chloe's typing and I'm getting ahead of it, but I'm sure you'll have a brilliant answer whenever I read it. When you have something that's fragile and you chip away at it, say it's like a porcelain vase or something, right? If you're knocking against it with something hard, like something stressful, just eventually going to break it. Right? So that's the opposite of what you want in your relationship. Scott, it's Scott. We have a man watching. Yay. Scott says, Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, I don't know how to say his name, is one of the few books I've read that actually changed the way I view the world, and is one of the few on my annual reread list. Oh, wow. Great job. Yeah. So I think I got some points with you, right? No, it's a very cerebral book. It is definitely not an easy read. So bravo. Good job reading it every year. Yeah. So if fragile is what you chip away at will eventually break, anti-fragile means that stress and challenges and difficulties, say disagreements, those kinds of things actually make you stronger. So if your relationship is anti-fragile, then, and sorry, I'm like totally deviating from my PowerPoint slides, but this is the insurance against, issues coming up. And believe me, in a year and a half of marriage with my husband and the almost coming up on 3 years that we've known each other, we've been through some huge challenges. So like the custody battle that I was talking about, huge challenges, very, very, very stressful. No one in their right mind and people that he would talk to and explain what we've been through would never anticipate like being able to make it through that, sticking by their partner through that. And the way I know that we're sticking through that is we get stronger and closer together the more our relationship is challenged. And the more that we disagree, the more stress we have. Chloe said kind of what I was saying earlier, which is having a relationship where we can call each other out and use it to grow on an individual level and for our relationship. Yes, exactly. Yes, right. And I guess I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm just kind of seeing it differently, that I'm seeing that as like, if you're doing something wrong, I'm going to call you out and you need to improve. But when I think of the relationship dynamic between the two of us, like just because I call you out doesn't mean we're going to get closer. Do you know what I mean? Like, but where the anti-fragile relationship excels, Chloe says, yeah, that's not what I mean. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. Maybe I'm misunderstanding you, but I can see how that can come across. Okay. Well, I mean, we're just using slightly different words. I'm sure, that totally, I'm not saying that's harmful. What you're saying is constructive, helpful, beneficial, positive for a relationship. Totally. But maybe I'm not understanding you. It's just the application of it. Yeah. Abby says, wow, that's beautiful, Leela. It sounds like you have a really adaptable partnership. Oh, thank you. Yes, adaptable is a good way to put it. That not only do we recover from stressful situations and challenges, but we get closer and stronger, and it strengthens our relationship. It improves our relationship. So yeah. So that, can you see how that is your insurance against hard times? Scott says, would it help to define what anti-fragile means for those who haven't heard the term? Okay. Maybe you could define it, because I thought I did, that whenever there's a challenge that you get stronger instead of weaker. Virginia says, I'm still lost. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Scott says, as soon as I typed that. Yeah. Chloe says, I hear that. Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. Totally didn't mean to disagree with you. But Virginia, so where did I lose you? Tell me where I lost you. But I'll go on. Maybe we'll talk more at the end of it. I'll go on so we don't take up too much time. So anyway, so next key secret ingredient to divorce-proof your life is understanding that investment equals value and how to translate that into higher confidence and self-worth. So I guess it kind of goes along with the concept of having higher standards, that when you are needing and requiring more investment, then you are also showing um, that your value is higher. Okay. Virginia says, I don't understand what it means to be anti-fragile. So Virginia, it's like a muscle that that when you work it out, it gets stronger. Like you stress it, you put it under challenge, you put it under stress, it gets stronger instead of weaker. Does that help? Okay, so as far as investment versus value, and now let me think. I feel like I wanted to say something different about that this time around. Okay, sorry, I just got another text from my sister and then I lost my mouse. Oh my goodness. Okay. Maggie says, so helpful. Okay, good. Okay, so as far as like investment versus value, I don't remember what else I was going to say to that. I mean, that was kind of what I already covered in the last master class. So, but I think if from the women's side, if we're seeing that a queen, for example, requires a higher investment, then you can see how that translates into higher confidence and self-worth, right? That probably doesn't need a lot of explanation. So I think what I wanted to cover for the men watching is, do you know that what you invest in becomes, that you see that as more valuable to you? So I don't know if that's common knowledge to most men. I'm sure very many men understand this, and that's not news to you. Oh, mute your microphone, please. Hi, Lindsay. But is that, like, are you aware of that when you put an investment in a woman, and I can hear like the arguments coming right now, like, don't spend a lot of money on her right away because you don't know if she's a gold digger or whatever, and you don't want her to just be interested in what she's getting from you. And I hear that. I totally hear all that. My husband hardly spent anything on me at first. Like that was not the requirement and investment that I'm really referring to in early on, right? But I mean, like, time and energy, that if I had been willing to just show up at his house, like I made him pick me up. Okay, so this might be a good example of requiring investment and not lowering my standards. So met my husband. He was just amazingly good looking. I was so attracted to him. Actually, he had quite a few pounds to lose, just as an aside, but his eyes and his smile were, just drew me in. Like I was hooked, right? So he invited me out for drinks, and it was kind of late at night, like later than most. Like there was a birthday party that he was at beforehand, so we were going to meet at like 9 or something like that. And but he never nailed down the time exactly. And so but when, normally when a guy would nail down the time, and usually they do that like the day before or something, that I would say, well, I prefer to be picked up, or they would say, here's where we're going, or, where do you live? And I would say, well, I prefer to be picked up. And that opportunity never came up with my husband when we first met. And he just went to the restaurant to meet me there, presuming that I was going to show up at this time that he never confirmed. he like gave 2 options or something. So I was just like assuming. And so I said, oh, well, I could have been like, oh, I'll be right there, or like I need to reschedule or something like that. But instead I was just like, I prefer to be picked up. That's all I said. And he was very annoyed. He was really peeved. And he told me, he's told me a couple of times that he told the waitress that he had to go pick me up, and got like the look of sympathy from her, which, whatever. He says that she felt so bad for him that he had to like leave his drink there and come get me. And then he couldn't find my house, whatever. But just to illustrate the point that that just making it easier actually devalues you, right? That requiring that investment of just, it didn't cost him any money, but it cost him convenience and time, that he had to come get me, and he was irritated, but he didn't show it at all. That's, I don't know, that's just an example of an investment which increased my value in his eyes. So not the best example, but maybe that illustrates the point that men see more value when they have to invest. Virginia says, what would you have said if he said, can you come here, after you said your preference? I would have said, nope. No, I don't do that. But I would have said it very nicely and high value. So that's a good question. What's my response when it's no? I say, I can't. Okay. I wonder what our gentlemen are thinking of that story as I tell it. Let me know if you have any thoughts on that, Scott, or anyone. Amanda says, at what point do men get over the annoyance and move on to valuing you for your preference? Good question. Maggie said, so full. Oh, wait, maybe I already read that. So I think if he was here, I would ask him. I don't know if he ever got over the annoyance. It's not a conscious thing, I don't think, to value. It's not conscious. But it's like a hurdle that the higher you have to jump, like the more effort you're putting in, and that filters out the ones not willing to put in that effort. So it's not even that, what am I trying to say? It's not even that, I think it did raise my value in his mind, but what I was going to say is that that he had to see me as higher value in order to get over that hurdle. So he had to look at me in my collective, in what he valued about me overall, holistically, that had to be higher to get over the annoyance. Does that make sense? I hope that's helpful. Amanda says yes. Okay, good. Abby says he had to want it. Yes. And that communicates, the more you want something, it's like when you win it, then you value it more, right? If it just shows up, like if you're in a negotiation and the first offer you make on a house is accepted, you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I could have like gotten a better deal. But if you have to work for it, if you have to want it for a little while, then you value it more when you finally get it. Virginia says, how do you raise your value once you're already in a relationship? I have very specific guidelines on how to get into a relationship. It can be really difficult to come back from having low standards once you're already in a relationship. It is possible. I'm not saying it isn't, but it takes time. It's much more difficult than when you're first starting out to have the right standards. Okay. So let's talk about attraction. What is the right kind of attraction? What's the wrong kind of attraction? So the right kind of attraction, and this, you could say, like, an example of this is, like I said, the income and status. Certainly you want to be attracted to someone. So physical attraction, super important. I don't discount that at all. But we all know when we find someone really good looking and then lower our standards, right? So that's the wrong kind of attraction. Being attracted to them for where they're at without them meeting the requirements of growth mindset and anti-fragile dynamic, that you get closer, that they're investing in you, that they've jumped hurdles and gone through filters to earn your love, that they've what was the other thing I said? I can't remember. It'll probably come back to me. But those are examples of the wrong kind of attraction. So the right kind of attraction is when so what I was saying earlier was about when you prejudge them and then they don't have to prove themselves to you. That's the wrong kind of attraction. When you're not enforcing your boundaries as a way to perpetuate and as a way to continue and bond you together. Okay, so then the right kind of attraction is when they satisfy the growth mindset and the investment and the high standards. Okay. So, and then when I say reciprocals and polarity is what I was mentioning about having your high standards for what was the example I gave? I can't remember the high standards. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Totally slipped my mind. But anyway, that you have to embody. Dang, it's going to bother me that I can't remember that example I gave. But that you have to embody what you're looking for in your partner, whatever the values are that you want them to have. Okay, maybe I was thinking of the example of when I decided I was going to find Derek, and not knowing who he was, obviously, but I needed to lose weight, work on my appearance, work on myself on the inside. Because what you're doing when you have low standards is you're trying to get away with being low value yourself, right? It's like, okay, well, if he's 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late and I don't give him a hard time about it, if I don't mind that at all, then he has to do the same for me too, right? That's an example of a reciprocal. So when you lower your standards for him and say, like, oh, I don't care if he's overweight or if he doesn't have a great job, if he, isn't really picking up the slack in the relationship, what you're saying to yourself is, I can also slack off in the relationship. Okay, and I think that's a little bit differently than I've described reciprocals in the past. So tell me if that's any of that is new news to you, if that's any of that is news to you about reciprocals and what it means to have low standards for the other person. That means you're having low standards. You're trying to get away with something yourself. You're trying to get away with being low value yourself. Abby said, yes, that used to be me. I wouldn't judge my partner's laziness so that I didn't have to judge. Right. Yes, exactly. So like if I'm, trying to eat right and my husband's like, I want dessert, or what's for dessert, or do he'll ask me, like, do you want to have dessert? And I can very easily say, oh, go ahead, hold you accountable going back to the accountability that Chloe mentioned. So thank you, Chloe. I appreciate that. Is a very good point that if I remind him, no, we're eating right. No, I don't want dessert tonight. Then he is held to a higher standard too. Even if I don't tell him you can't have it, but I just say, no, I'm not having any, thanks. I'm watching what I'm eating. Then he's reminded, oh yeah, I am too. Right? So I think that makes total sense. Okay, so then the honesty and mystery piece. What I want to focus on a little bit different than last time is, and I already mentioned, or I mentioned last time for whoever saw that honesty can be a big trap for women. And I just talked to a girl today, like I said, that, you know, she would say, and a lot of women would say, well, he seems so into me until I'm into him and I'm too nice. And guys don't like nice girls. And my husband said the same thing about women don't like nice guys. And I don't know if this is the case of his experience, but I'm just saying that I've heard it both ways, that that people think that the opposite sex doesn't like them to be nice, but actually they're not being nice. They're being insensitive to the speed of the other partner and how fast they're willing to go, how much they really want to know about them. Like, so what I mean is that what I said on the slide is intimacy and seduction are opposites. So when you're just getting to know someone and he's like super into you and he is like wanting, this is great, I'm so excited to tell him everything about me. What you've done is just zapped all of the polarity, all of the mystery out of his attraction to you by giving everything that he wanted right away. And maybe this is confusing to men. Scott, tell me if this applies. Is it confusing to you, or are you very aware of what is happening when a woman starts giving too much information, for one, but also, you know, being kind of too easy to get a hold of, like kind of too available. She's always around. She's always willing to show up, always willing to help you out, things like that. Are you aware that that is, I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, but girls, ladies, did you know that this is very inconsiderate of him? This is sapping him of all of the juicy, passionate courtship chase that he was so looking forward to when he met you. And so it's not being nice. It's not being nice to overshare and to overgive. It's not. And aren't we doing that because we want it to be reciprocated? Like it's manipulative. Like there's a point behind it. It's not just, I'm not just being nice. I want something in return. I want you to do these things for me in return. Tell me if that speaks to you, if you've ever had that situation happen where you overgave. And do you see that that is actually not being nice in the relationship? Especially in the beginning stages. Abby says, do you feel annoyed when someone gives me TMI? Oh my God, I watched a movie the other night. Amanda says, I have done that to others. Yeah. Amanda says, makes perfect sense. In my head, I would say not making the man leave the restaurant is me being nice. All it is lowering my standard and depriving him of reaching it. Yes, yes, thank you. Yes, a man who wants you will move heaven and earth. And why would you deprive him of the opportunity to flex those muscles and to get in that workout that his body's just like craving, right? Figuratively. Yeah, there was a movie I watched. It was Gerard Butler and Katherine Heigl. It was like The Ugly Truth, I think was the name of it. And she would do the prejudging thing and show up and then start telling the guy what to do, telling him all her like ugly secrets, like taking her hair down, like just just zapping all of the seduction and mystery out of the relationship. Okay, so maybe I've gone on and on too much with that, but definitely a problem to keep an eye out for. Okay, so last point is enforcing boundaries with actions instead of words. So just going back to divorce proofing your life is okay. So maybe to Abby's point, being able to walk away. That is definitely huge, to set up your marriage by being willing to walk away. I don't mean being willing to get a divorce. I mean, before you get married, that during the courtship, you are willing to walk away. Okay. The example of enforcing boundaries through actions instead of words. And a smaller example with like the having to pick me up and leave the restaurant would be like, say he said, can you come meet me? And I said, I can't. So that's, enforcing it with words. But maybe he says, oh, please, are you sure? Like, come on, I'm already here. You're not going to make me drive all the way out there, are you? So the way I would enforce that with actions instead of words is not responding. Like, I already responded the first time, not going to respond again. And the way I see this as divorce proofing your marriage and your relationship is that when we try to enforce boundaries with words, we argue endlessly, and that will lead to divorce. But when we enforce boundaries with actions, and I could give you some really juicy kind of extreme examples from my relationship, but it might be a little TMI, might be a little too private. But let me just assure you that Derek knows what happens if he acts up. Okay. It doesn't always have to, you don't have to go to divorce to put your foot down. Then I think that's maybe that's one side effect of using words instead of actions to enforce our boundaries, which it doesn't. Words do not enforce boundaries. Virginia said, I love examples. Well, thank you. I love to give them too, but this is, the internet. So I'm not going to give too much. At least that's where my mind is going at the moment. Maybe I'll think of something less private that I can give as an illustration. But let's just say that divorce is not your only option to enforce your boundaries once you're married. Okay, so I think being willing to walk away from the relationship before you're married is super, super, super important. Abby says, divorce is what eventually seems to happen when people haven't been walking the walk. Yes, for sure. And do you find that seems to come with too much talking and not enough walking, right? Would you say that's true? That when you repeat, I don't like that. This is my boundary. This is unacceptable, like too much. That's when it's like, yeah, I'd rather have a divorce than be in this marriage. But when you know how to escalate, Chloe says totally true. Yeah. When you know how to escalate consequences and enforce boundaries with actions instead of words, then you don't have to get to divorce. And I'm saying divorce proof because ideally we have a strong relationship that lasts forever, but that's not to say that divorce is a dirty word or that's anything more than a tool. Like, I don't ever want to get a divorce. And my husband and I have said that's not an option. But, we all know in the real world, if he changed his mind and wanted to divorce me, then there's, he's going to get a divorce eventually, right? And then, so I have to know that I would be okay if that were the case, if that were to happen. Abby says, I don't know from personal experience, never been divorced, but the ones I have observed are the last thing what you want in the relationship by the time it gets to divorce. Right? So it's not like you couldn't have done anything to prevent it. There was opportunities, lots of verbal animosity, like in court. Oh yeah, I've been there. I have been there. Lots of money too. And we're not talking thousands of dollars. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars at the minimum. Usually more into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is mind-blowing because I'm like, I didn't even know I could earn hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like you wouldn't even know that would be possible to lose that much money because you would never make that much money to begin with, right? Oh, it's possible. It's very possible, very probable. The lawyers will get their money. So yeah, so divorce is not a desirable outcome for sure. But like we're saying, there's definitely opportunities before that to take action and not just words and verbal animosity and arguing. Is that making sense? Okay. So thank you all for sticking with me, and I've enjoyed this very, very much, and I hope you have too. Let me know if you are loving it, and if you want to hear more. Abby says, I just watched the Netflix movie Marriage Story about a divorce. Very compelling. Oh my gosh, that is just heart-wrenching. That whole movie is so difficult, wasn't it? It was so rough and tough to watch. But so anybody who doesn't want to hear more, as far as like what I offer, and I hope this has been very, very helpful, and I love the feedback. Thank you so much. And please tell me if you've enjoyed it, but don't feel like you have to stick around to hear more, especially those of you who are already my clients and enrolled in my programs. You don't have to stick around. You're good, but you might want to. And that's really cool too. Abby says, this was fun and insightful, Leela. Thank you so much. Oh, you're so welcome, Abby. You are so welcome. So, but for whoever does want to stick around, Chloe says, I adore you, but I do have yes, no problem. No problem. But like I mentioned that some guys had been wanting to see some content from me. So that's why I want to still go through this, and I'm recording, and but you are totally under no obligation to stick around for the rest. Chloe says, I agree with Abby. Thank you. Okay, good. Yay. Well, have a lovely evening. You can stick around, whatever you got to do. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about is some further options to go deeper with this work and the same kind of insights into the opposite sex. And so it's pretty brief. It's not super lengthy. But I want to put it out there because, like I said, I had a lot of guys asking for some content. So I want to give you an idea of what I have available for you because I want to help. I know there's a thirst for this information, for knowing how a woman's mind thinks and operates. And Virginia says, thank you. Thank you, Virginia. Got a private message. So I have 2 programs on Gumroad. They are they're very affordable. I wanted everybody to be able to just test out my content and enroll in something to see if it's helpful to you, if it's what you're looking for in terms of insights. So they will both be $59 at launch, which will be probably before June 1st, but I just put June 1st on there to get started. But like I said, it'll probably be in just a couple of weeks, but once it's launched, then it'll be $59. But if you want to enroll pre-launch, it's just $47. And So who is this for? This would be for anyone who's ready to take full responsibility for the quality of their relationships. If you are ready to learn the lessons of your past that your past and current relationships are trying to teach you. If you don't think your partner or dating prospects need to change first. So if you're single and you're like, I'd be better at relationships if there was just better guys out here, if there was just better women out here. This is not that's the case, okay? If you are ready to treat yourself with respect, so if you want to go out there and just settle for the first person that comes along, not for you. If you understand that love is a verb, then you know that there's action to it, that you're not that's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm trying to think of what I had in mind when I wrote it. If you understand that love is a verb, you know that you're choosing love and commitment every day, and you're not going to sit back and say, well, I love him, that means he should treat me right. Do you know what I'm saying? Or her. If the above, okay, if what I just mentioned does not describe you, if you aren't ready to take full responsibility for the quality of your relationships, if you still think that's partially someone else's responsibility, if you aren't ready to learn the lessons of your past and current relationships, because they will repeat until you learn them. But if you are still thinking that your partner or your dating prospects need to change first before your relationships can change, if you're not ready to treat yourself with respect, if you just want to settle for whoever comes along, and if you think love is just like a one-time, I said it, there, we're done kind of thing, then you need to invest in yourself first before you can have a good relationship. And so you should not be investing in relationship content. You're not ready for that. You need to invest in yourself first, okay? But if you are ready to take full responsibility for your relationships, you are ready to treat yourself with respect, and choose love as a verb, as an action that you do, and an investment that you make, then these are the problems that this content and programs, one for men, one for women, these are the problems that these programs will solve. Feeling insulted and heartbroken by rejection. Let's see if this applies to anyone. Tell me if this applies to you. If you are being completely blindsided when your partner takes you for granted, if you're beating your head against the wall, you've tried everything to break the cycle, but nothing works. If you've made baby steps of progress in many areas of your life, but the relationship piece is not making sense yet. If you have frustration that the person you're with or the people that you're meeting are not changing. If you are not understanding what the opposite sex really wants or how to make them happy long term. And if you are not getting your needs met in the relationship or the past relationships, if you're just dating, if you're not in a relationship, if you're not getting your needs met, those are the problems that this content will solve. And I should ask you what you think of that. How does this sound to you? Am I hitting any nerves? Are these problems that you need solutions to? Tell me. Tell me yes, baby, yes, if these are problems that you need. Hi, Nina. Thank you for joining me. So if any of that sounds like problems that you need to solve, let me tell you what you'll learn. You will learn what and how the opposite sex is thinking that is causing you pain. You will learn how and why you are sabotaging yourself in relationships. You will learn how to absorb the lessons your relationships are trying to teach you so you stop the cycle. How to change your mindset to feel high value and confident with the opposite sex. You will learn exactly what to say with text scripts provided in all the stickiest dating and marriage traps and pitfalls. And you will learn how to communicate your values and what to do if they don't seem to match with your partner or the people that you're meeting. And when enough is enough and it's time to call it quits. Okay, so that's what these two programs are aiming to teach you, what you will learn in them, okay? So if you're watching on Zoom or the replay, I have here what I just described as far as the pre-launch programs. The price will be $59 after the launch, but right now only $47. And I will put the links in the description and in the comments here. The 24-hour expiring bonus for these courses is one private session with me, a $399 value. And you will have the option also of adding sessions and deeper work options. Increased packages if that is what you need. So if that's the case, if what you need is deeper than these courses, then please let's meet, and you can schedule that at I'll put the link in the comments to meet up, and I will put also the links to the programs. So the first one is there's one for men and one for women. So you'll see, hopefully, if I did these correctly. I think the first one is for women. And then the second one is for men. So tell me if you click on it, if that's correct. If you're seeing, I guess I'll just click on it. Okay, so the first one is for women. It's called Inside a Man's Mind. And the second link is for men. It's called Inside a Woman's Mind. So there you go. That's what I have on offer for you today. And I really appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so much. Let me know, do you have any questions before we go? Anything else that you want to cover? Any questions about the programs? If not, then I will let you all go. It was so lovely. Thank you for tolerating all my technical difficulties. Bye, Amanda. Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Love you guys. You can always contact me. I'm going to put that link again to schedule a chat. I would love to meet up with you if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, Ray. And, my DMs are open as well, or email me if you need anything. So love you guys. It's been great. I had a great time. Bye.